Right, okay, in this abstraction series then we're going to be looking at different artists and how you might work in the style of them or take some inspiration from them. So right now we're going to have a look at this Ben Sandler piece of the girl dancing and the movement captured in there. Now, I have limited access to resources as I am currently in lockdown, but you can see here I took a picture of myself in the mirror and I have used some of the principles in the work to look like it's inspired by Ben Sandler. So I'm going to talk you through how to do that, and it's super easy. And what is really great about this abstraction unit is that actually it introduces you to a lot of the basics within Photoshop, or helps you gain a lot of confidence in using some of the different tools quite quickly. So first thing you're going to need to do then to achieve that sort of outcome is use the rectangular marquee tool and select out an area that you would like to duplicate. So I'm going to select out this area over my hand, and this is whilst I'm selecting on the background layer, and then I'll use Control and J, or Command if you're on a Mac, and then it'll give me a duplicate of that section of the photograph. Now, there are things you can do to this in order to make it more in the style of Ben Sandler. So one of the things he often does is make it slightly bigger. So I'm going to increase that using Control T with Transform, holding Shift down as I drag that box out to make it bigger, or drag that section of image out to make it bigger, and accept it. One of the other things that he often does is displace it, so it's slightly off. I'm going to go to that side again, so that's slightly displaced. One of the other things he actually does notice is he quite lightens that layer, and the areas he's edited tend to become a little lighter. So what I'll do is I'm going to go onto levels, and I'm going to use on the adjustment panel, and I'm going to use the I'm going to connect the adjustment to the layer beneath, and then I'm going to slightly lighten. I think I'll bring out some of the highlights of that layer and make it just a little lighter. There we go. So that layer is a little lighter. You can do that using brightness and contrast as well, for example, but you know this because now by this module you've done quite a lot of different editing techniques. Now, that's already made it sort of stand out from the background, but one of the other little tricks you can do to make it stand out more or look a little bit more like it's a tile floating on top of the other picture is create a shadow for it on the on the lower layer, on the background layer, or the layer which is the whole image. So in order to do that, you need to have the background layer selected with the floating layer above it, and you need to come over to the toolbar on the left hand side and select the burn tool, and just make sure it is, because there's dodge and sponge in there as well, we want the burn tool. I've got that currently set to midtones and 50% exposure, and I just go around the edge of that, and because I'm doing it on the background layer, none of the sort of shadowy shadows that appear through burn tool will appear on the little tile that you created above. So here we go again. I'm just going to go over that, make it really stand out, and you can see it gives it that appearance that it's somehow floating. And then you can carry on working with that and then add additional layers. So you can see I've got two here that are floating above. So that's how you work in the style of Ben Sandler. And you can try that using you could try it using a larger number of floating tiles. You could try more extreme versions of where there's lots more like sort of areas lifted up or expanded out. You could even look at using other artists. So I think, just to refresh my memory, yes, you could quite easily develop this idea to look at artists such as here, this is David Hockney, and just a little bit like Ben Sandler's work, there is an emphasis on sort of capturing movement with all the different placement of the photos, and you could easily develop these sort of ideas again into someone like Aldo Tolino, who does, here is an origami face, distorted origami faces that is done, but also does a lot of things with sort of folded images, and he does sort of things that are a bit sort of pixel stretch-esque, which I know is another one of the tutorials that I've got, so you'll be able to do that whilst you're at home as well. So you've got a range of artists that you could potentially develop through.